All right, what's good, people? So today we're looking at the AliExpress Jufule transient counterfeit, and so I'm just gonna go ahead and get this out of the way to begin with. I was not happy with this knife when I got it out of the box. Matter of fact, I was kind of pissed, if I'm being truthful about it. The action on this thing out of box was garbage. It was pretty horrendously bad. Uh, It was binding, grinding. It still is to some extent, and it was just. I mean, it was so binded up on the clothes that this right here still isn't great on the clothes, but it's acceptable. When I got it out of the box, it was just it was so bad. It was so bad out of box. Felt like it was a little loose on there. Yeah, it definitely was. But out of box, it was just like literally when I went to try to close it, I had to snap my wrist as hard as I could almost, and that would only get it to fall halfway closed. It's I almost thought that it was like pinched up here at the top, you know? But let me give you the specs on it real quick. So we're looking at 4.4 ounces. It's an inset liner lock, 154 cm with a hollow grind. This is the radial milled pattern, and it's actually contoured, which is super nice. And the blade stock thickness is on the thinner side, so 14 thousandths, and behind the edge is just ridiculous. It's so thin behind the edge. I want to say it was 10 thousandths or like 10.5. It's just so thin behind the edge. Yeah, 10 thousandths. And this hollow grind is done so well, just like on the Cortex. I mean, these hollow grinds are better than like anything I've really seen, to be honest with you. The only other knife I have that has a hollow grind anything like this is my misdemeanor. And even then, it doesn't come anywhere near what this does down behind the edge. Here, like, I'll just show you. You know, Neves touted this as being 10 thousandths behind the edge or something close to it. Mine's nowhere near that. I've never sharpened it or anything. This is just how it was, you know. 17, 16, 5. 16 thousandths, you know. Which isn't bad at all, but it ain't no 10 thousandths down behind the edge like this is, you know. Not even close. And then the hollow grind on this guy's actually deeper than it is on this. If I lay a card flat, you know, damn, I don't have one with me. Oh, yeah, I do. I brought one out just for this reason. So I'll show you real quick. So here's the hollow grind on this guy. It's really good. You know, but this is a $300+ knife, too. And here's a hollow grind on here. You can just tell it's deeper. You know what I mean? It's deeper on this. But the action on this is way better. Way better. I mean, we're otherworldly. When we're comparing this to this is on a different planet compared to this, in my opinion. And like this thing, like when I say I broke it in all day yesterday at work, I mean I've probably flicked this thing 400 times at this point. Plus I fast tracked it. So I took a business card, you know, and I wedged it down in here of a cardboard business card, you know, and I wedged the corner of it down in there, folded it back over the frame, then unlock it and run it back and forth like this to fast track the detent ball into the detent track to try to wear it in quicker. Because as best as I can tell, this thing's binding up for like a couple of different reasons. One, it's almost like pinched up here in the pivot area. I mean, it feels like it is, sort of. And then the detent ball running on the track, they milled a track in there, but I don't think the detent is running on that track properly. And the biggest problem, I think, is this thing has an internal stop pin, and a cutout in the blade, so the blade is running around the stop pin as it opens, and you can hear it. So that's it rubbing on that blade. Now, if you were to mod this knife and go in there and start polishing the detent track and polishing up inside of that stop pin cutout and everything, you could probably get this thing way smoother than I already have with the effort I've put into it for a whole day, you know? But out of the box, this thing was, oh, it was so frustrating because it was so bonded up. I mean, this is not a washer knife. This thing's on bearings. So there is no reason, like, this is what I keep hoping Jufule's action is going to feel like on the close. Like, this is so good on the close. It's just ridiculous how smooth this knife is on the close. And this is, you know, the counterfeit Lamia from Jufule. Even this knife, the Jufule Rosie, the thin one, on the close, it's very, very smooth. You know, it's not fall shut, but it's still very smooth. Even my Cortex, you know, it took a little bit of time to break in, but it's pretty smooth now on the close. You know, this thing, I mean, with as much as I've tried to work it in, you know, and granted, this is a thin, light blade, so it's not, but it's just the fact that it's not smooth. You know, it's not smooth up there. And even, like, so now I just index it closed. But even doing that, it's not smooth. You feel a lot of resistance when doing this, you know, compared to, say, indexing this. This, I'm not feeling that resistance, that gritty kind of grinding that I'm feeling on this. You know, so some tolerance is off on the inside of it in there. Now, all that being said, the detent on it is really good. And so the reverse flick on it is super satisfying once you figure out where your finger needs to be slotted into this hole, because it's kind of, I don't want to say it's like awkward, but it's a learning curve as far as where your finger needs to go inside this hole. Because if you don't get it, just like I did right there, if you don't get it wedged up in there right, then you'll misfire it every time. You know, and it's like you almost have to, like, not dig your finger in there, but there's just a specific spot where it has to be kind of pushed up in there. And once you get used to where that needs to be, it's fine, you know, and the back flipper works surprisingly well. And again, the detent is really crispy on it out of the box. Honestly, the hole on it kind of reminds me of the Militaw, but this is bigger, so you don't fail it like you do, like I've done with this, because my finger has just enough room to slot up in there perfectly every time. You know, with this one, it's smaller, so it's like I'm having to wedge it up in there even more, you know, if that makes sense. But again, once you figure out where it needs to be in there, it's actually pretty satisfying to reverse flick it, you know, and like I said, the back flipper. Now, the other issue with the knife is the detent. It's got kind of a late detent. So there's our detent wall, okay, and then we're over it. Oh shit, my alarm's going off. Let me pause it. Okay, sorry about that. So, but again, with the detent, so there's the detent wall, okay? And then we're over it right there. So now you can see that's all the nub you have to, like, try to catch with your finger. And so, but once the good thing about it is, because this is curved in right here, and there's good lock bar access that's laid back right here on this side, when you wedge your thumb in there like that, I almost don't even have an issue double clutching it because my thumb naturally wants to go right into it right there, and that's like right where you need to be. And then the blade itself is so light that even if you miss the tang of the blade and it comes down to kind of try to get you, it's so light and not drop shutty that it won't, leave cut you or really bad like if it was super guillotine-y. You know what I mean? But once you start indexing it over on the clothes, it's actually pretty satisfying. And I'll let you kind of listen to it for a second. I mean, it's not bad now, but that's after me breaking this thing in so hard. I mean, I just can't emphasize enough how many times I've flicked it already. And then it's contoured. So let's kind of talk about some good things. It's contoured, so this thing feels amazing in the hand. Especially back in this grip and in the choked up grip. It's just as comfortable, honestly. You've got this nice flat right here to choke up on. And then it does have some jimping, but it's not super effective. I mean, you feel it, but it's not really locking me in place. I wish it went out to the end of the hole right there. That would be like perfect, So the ergos on it are really good. And then this hollow grind, it's so well done. Sharpening choil is, phenomenal. Hollow grind is amazing. The edge that comes on it is so ridiculously sharp. Like, look at how thin it gets out to this tip. Like, do not drop this knife with it open. You're going to lose that tip for sure. But yeah, it's so well built. This mill pattern is phenomenal. The only issue that I have with it is that it's the clip's resting directly on it. So I wish there was a bald spot under the clip. But that being said, it still runs good because this has got really thin material right here and it flexes really good, But you definitely feel it popping over these ridges. I'm sure the plain Jane one won't be like that. So it's still satisfying. It's hard because it's still super satisfying, and the more it breaks in, the better it's getting. But out of the box, it was not great for me. It just wasn't great for me out of box. And a lot of a knife is when you first get it out of box, how good is it? You know what I mean? I don't want to know how good it is a week from now or what all I've got to do to it to make it great. I want it to be good out of the box, and with a lot of these clones, you're not going to get that. Every once in a while you get lucky and get one that's close, you know what I mean? But for the most part, you're going to have to mod these things a little bit to get them where they need to be. And this knife is no exception in that category. The cutting performance on it is amazing. The hollow grind is amazing. The stonewash finish on it, the edge on it, the build quality on it, the fact that it's contoured, inset liner lock. But that fall action was rough. It was rough, And it having a little bit of a late detent, and it's still having whatever's binding up, grinding in there. And I'm sure I can fix that, but should I have to for $90? No, because for $90, you know what I mean? You can get something like this, that has zero of these issues. Doesn't have any of those issues. For $90, less than $90, you can get something like this, that has zero of those issues. And these are original designs, not a clone. You know what I mean? I don't mind them being clones. I don't have a problem with it. But I do have a problem with it when you're putting out the product too fast and we're maybe sacrificing things like the action, which is the main part of the knife, in my opinion, for people, to pump them out. Like I said, I keep wanting this action, again on his knives. And because this was the first Jufule knife I ever got, this is the action that I've been chasing from him ever since. You know what I mean? And none of them have come close to this for me. Not my Rosie, not... Now, this Cortex is fucking good, but again, you had to mod it to get it there. You know what I mean? Like, you had to knock that nub off. Without that nub being there, it was not very satisfying for me. You know? And again, this thing had a light detent out of box, so, like, I had to modify it too. It's all just... You know, it's just, you've got to put effort into these things. Let me show you a couple of size comparisons while I got it out here, too. You know, it's not a bad knife, and it's growing on me more and more the more I use it. You know what I mean? But I would be doing people a disservice by saying this thing is phenomenal or it was great or something when it clearly wasn't. And I was not happy with it out of box at all. And I've already put a lot of effort into breaking it in, trying to get this action better, and I'm still going to have to do more. You know what I mean? To get rid of that squeaking noise and whatever the fuck all that is going on, you know? Hopefully you can just see the size comparisons I'm throwing up here. Because I'm, you know, just rambling at this point, but... Yeah, it's still a good pickup, man, and it's growing on me more and more. The more I play with it, the more I use it, and especially the cutting performance you get out of it, you know. And I think the biggest thing, too, was comparing it, you know, just getting this Cortex and finally getting it modded where I wanted it, and the action being so fucking good on it now that, you know, it was just kind of hard to feel this out of the box and be happy with it. Yeah, but, you know, those are my thoughts. I hope y'all are having a good one.